house that you swore was a restaurant but was really a family home that could have housed the Manson family? I should have known better than to think I could resist bringing any of this up again. It was just too damn funny.
You know that the Mansons weren't a real family, right?
I ignored her and continued. Or maybe it was when you got drunk with Owen's grandmother and tried to cuddle with a chicken.
Now you're just being mean. His mom and grandmother slipped something into my drink, I'm sure of it.
Yes, that's actually incredibly likely, I deadpanned. Hands planted firmly on her hips, she stepped closer in a move she probably thought was menacing. But while she was tall, her blonde head barely reached my chin.
Do you think Hudson ever would have called you if we hadn't gone down there for the reunion? And do you think you ever would have gone to the reunion if I hadn't said it was a good idea? Nope. So really, you getting to feed your hero complex is all because of me.
Should I just forget about all the time you profusely apologized for making me go to that reunion?
Yes,
she said, her voice emphatic. We glared at each other for a few seconds before we both erupted in laughter. I can't believe you brought up my hero complex. That was a low blow. So I'd offered to house sit and look after a few dogs. Babysit a 7-year-old selective mutant rescue a wayward sister? That didn't make it a complex. She calmed, but the smile stayed on her face as she wrapped her arms around me.
I love that you love your sister, and I also love that you're so worried about being welcoming and accommodating. But she chose to call you because she knew she could count on you. It's not about the state of your apartment or anything like that. It's because you make people feel protected and cared about.
I leaned down and rested my cheek on top of her head. Stop saying nice things to me. It weirds me out and, oddly, turns me on. I pressed my erection against her a bit as evidence. She spluttered out a laugh.
I'm just speaking the truth, you perv.
Well, your truth makes me horny. I started running my hands up and down her back.
What time was Hudson's flight getting in?
She asked, her voice breathy. She said she'd call when she landed. Her flight had been delayed, so it had been over 24 hours since her frantic call, but I was still relieved she was on her way.
Oh, with our luck, she'll call as soon as you start something.
I started kissing down her jaw. Maybe you should start it then.
I think you beat me to it.
I can stop, I said as I pulled away from her a little. She reached up and pulled my head down to hers until our lips touched.
Don't you dare,
she mumbled against me before drawing me into a heated kiss. As our tongues tangled and we gasped and moaned into each other's mouths, I thought about how life couldn't get much better. Against all odds, Taylor and I had somehow grown closer while enduring enough drama to fuel a soap opera. I began moving us toward the couch so we could stretch out on top of each other, preferably with less clothes on. As soon as Taylor's back made contact with the fabric and I settled on top of her, we began grinding desperately. This was how I always hoped things were for Taylor and me, incendiary. I wasn't sure anyone could go from 0 to 60 like we could. I reached down between us to pop the button on her jeans and then began gliding the zipper down. I'd just gotten my hand inside to tease along her underwear when there was a knock at my door. Groaning, I buried my face in her neck. Oh, if that's one of our friends, I'm disowning them.
Well, they tend to travel in packs, so it's probably more than one. They're also impossible to get rid of. Kind of like the herpes of humanity.
I laughed as another knock came. Yeah, I'm coming, I yelled, hoisting myself off Taylor. She snorted.
Not now, you're not.
Jerk. When I reached the door, I gave a quick look over my shoulder to make sure Taylor was decent. Seeing that she'd refastened her pants and was sitting up on the couch made a wave of longing rush through me. Was it too much to ask to have some spontaneous sex with my girlfriend one last time before my sister moved in? I was going to kill whoever was on the other side of the door. Though not literally. I'd already avoided one murder rap, no need to tempt fate. Taking one more deep breath to make sure my body was back under control, I opened the door, ready to give hell to whoever was on the other side. But as my gaze settled on who was there, I jerked my head back in surprise. Hudson? A frown marred her face.
Yeah. Were you not expecting me?
I snapped out of my shock and moved to envelop her in a hug. I thought you were going to call from the airport. She shrugged against my embrace.
I didn't want to make you come all the way down there to get me. It was just as easy to Uber.
I would have been happy to come get you. In fact, I was a little irritated that she hadn't called. She didn't need to be traipsing all over the place in her condition. She'd been through enough already. But coming down on her for it wouldn't help anything. What was done was done. Well, how did you know my address? I asked as I pulled away and gestured for her to come in.
You texted it to me a while back.